Luis Skelly's keeping you out the team. Moreno, you're not talking to anyone in the front three, in the midfield three. Sorry, by default, you're playing up front. When you went back into midfield against United, it was a myth. So there's another one. The less said about Neto and the less said about your boy Raheem Sterling, the better, really. So I look back at the summer. January, I think Arteta's got to hold that as well. But then I more blame the board, because whether you was, like you said, whether you were suggesting things to Arteta and you was turfing it, if you truly want to win and you see that you need a bit of a boost, even if you do everything, it's very unlikely you're going to beat Liverpool, but you need to the title, but you need to do something. The fact that you did nothing tells me you're cool with top four. You're kind of harping on about players returning from injury. You're probably looking at it in a sinister way, like you finish in the top 5 positions, your thing is good, and it just keeps it moving. And it's a weird one, because I do think Arteta is a good coach. I don't think he's without faults. I think he's a good coach. I do think he will be, I won't quite say high demand, but if he became, or he would have like a plethora of jobs, but if he became available, I do think people would at least ring him and things like that. But the one monkey on his back, as you said, and I've been saying, is, bro, you need to win something. Like anytime there's a bit of adversity in terms of sink or swim, whether it's the FA Cup against Man United, whether it's the 2 legs against Newcastle, or this Premier League race, which has never been a race. It's been the worst of the 3. The 2022-23 season, as you said, we were good going forward. Last year, we were solid defensively. This season, it's been either stagnation or regression. People can pick their poison. Either way, even if it's stagnation, you can still fall back. So that's where I kind of look at it. And I do think experience can be overrated, but it can't be overstated, because I look at Klopp from the moment he walked in at Liverpool, even when they had a rugby team, the man were getting in finals. Where I look at Arne Slot, people can say it's the Eredivisie and all these things, bro, but there's a bit of experience that maybe he's gone in there and saying, okay, at this moment in time, I can't change too much. They've done me dirty with the players' deals running down in the transfer window. I just kind of need to make little tweaks. And I think Arteta is learning on the jobs. That has to be ruled out now, because you've been here 6 years and been in 3 title challenges. You said we wanted to get here. And that's why I asked you about the pressure, because I do think if like the pressure was to win at this football club, they might say, Arteta, why are you buying Havertz? Why are you playing Havertz up front? I'm not saying Marino's a bad player, but if it comes to it and we need either floor raisers or ceiling raisers, can you push the boat out? I hope this Berta guy can do stuff for us, but at the end of the day, like, I'm very wary of one man joining in March, looking in the summer and thinking he can change everything alone. Everyone's kind of got to sing from the same hymn sheet. On the topic of ownerships, though, wait, go on.
No, I agree with you. I think he comes in, and I get that, obviously people are excited, but it depends how much wriggle room he's got, I guess, to actually spend, because that's a lot of people look at the list of signings and they'll say, right, well, he signed these players and that means he's capable of bringing this to us. But what is the balance sheet for Atletico, and what have they made in terms of money and allows him to sign those players financially? And what are you going to do? And are your ownership going to be a bit tight, or are they going to say, wages? I've always said this is the big stumbling block with the striker, is Havertz and Jesus being on 500 and whatever K.
And my man got ACL now as well. So he's not leaving until next summer.
He ain't passing a medical. So that's, as a collective, that's what they're making. Any striker that comes into Arsenal, they have to demand more than Havertz. It's mandatory. And you've put yourself in that position because Havertz,
and the new deals as well for Saka and that. If they're not earning more than Havertz, you'll be like, listen, man,
Saliba, bro. If Saliba signs, so what are those increase in wages gonna do to the budget? And how are you going to sign a striker for that's better than Havertz, undisputedly, but then pay for wages that are more than Havertz?
And still have to use Havertz as well to some degree, because from a political point of view, you spent peas on him, bro. You're gonna have to use him.
Starting 11 money. For me, it's not even the transfer fee that's the issue, because we all know that's a spread over 5 years, book value. You can sell.
Bumped us, but we bumped ourselves, man. But bumped ourselves.
The wages is what is the problem, because if you spend a lot of money on a player but they're on low wages and you're willing to take a loss, that's your business. If you're willing to sell for the book value, that's your business. You spread it over 5 years, you take the hit. But one thing you cannot do is move the wage. The wage is the wage, and the player has now become accustomed to that wage. So any clubs coming in, I need this money. All right, you're gonna pay me off. You gotta pay part of my wage on the
facts.
That is something that is much more damning than the fee. But yeah.
I think you're bang on the money, man. And obviously, this is what I mean about, like, things aren't going to just change in one season. Obviously, you could caveat it and say, on one hand, maybe Arsenal need a bit more than just a striker. But I think to the starting 11, there's about 3 players that's needed. And allegedly, I imagine all clubs are laying the groundwork to their signings in the summer. Allegedly, Jason Ito, the interim, has been helping with Zubamendi and all of this. But as you said there, we need to sort out new contracts and the knock-on effects. Also, you need to bring in players. Like in an ideal world, you know, you make a decision on the Thomas Partey's, the Zinchenko's, the Tierney's of this world. If you haven't already, you're on big money. You bring in, the dream would be Isak, but whether it's Isak, Osimhen, whatever, they're going to be on something handsome. So that's one. Saka, Saliba, Magalhaes, their new deals, and then anything else. So it's a knock-on effect. But this is where I go back to the summer, bro, and I feel Arsenal fans, purely because we're football fans, all the things me and you are talking about owners and all of this is all this new age stuff. We're meant to just care about the football pitch, right? Like it's all the kind of new things in it. I just feel fans can be, including myself, can be forgiven for not being excited necessarily, but 2 points off City, bullish chat on the last day of the season, needing just a striker, just a this, just a that. And then that's the fans really hoping that Arteta improves. But then you look at the summer, and like I said earlier, like we brought in no level raisers. I do think, rightly so in theory, that there was a bit of a remit to kind of make some money on sales, because we've not really done that really, and we need to get better at that. So I had no problem. You know me, I love Smith Rowe. I didn't want him to go, but I understand it. I hear it, money, FFP, whatever. Same with Eddie Nketiah, the same with a loan for Fabio Vieira. My issue is that you let the bodies go. You didn't bring anybody in, even with everybody fit, even in the summer with everyone fit and no one leaving. I still thought the squad was too short. Arteta at numerous points last season said we got one of the smallest squads, right? And I mean, I believe that. You've got a squad of 17, 18, maybe 19 max trying to compete in 4 trophies. The maths isn't mathing. So we kind of, when I look at it, and obviously selling Ramsdale, it seems like the club are not as ambitious as maybe Arteta, because I do think he's ambitious for all his faults, and definitely us fans. That's why for me, I've kind of had to temper my kind of expectations. You said it there, like, why do you think, like, if you was to look at Arteta's signings, Raya, Ramsdale did well for a point, Raya did well. Basically, the defensive third, and that'll push maybe the middle third. I know Odegaard's not flavour of the month, but Odegaard, Rice, Partey, I would say the defensive and middle third's been all right. The final third has been the issue. Like, why do you think there's been a reluctance to sign a forward? Why do you think, like, why do you think we haven't signed a forward? What do you think he wants from a striker? And like, why is it taking so long? Because our best attacker, fair enough, is Saka, but essentially he's a Haylender. The next one is probably now Wanyeri, who is a Haylender. Obviously, Trossard was at a point was giving us a bang for our buck. And ironically, we only got him because you lot gazumped us for Mudryk. But like, why do you think there's a reluctance to go for that forward?
Just can you imagine if you signed Mudryk and Mudryk had not played to the level, right? And he was just
talent ID stinky.
He's just meaty like he's been for us. I mean, that would have been compounding on top of, you know what I mean? It would have been scary, insane. Bro, it's mad. So I feel like Arteta doesn't want Mavericks. He doesn't seem to want someone that's unpredictable as a character and also as a footballer. I look at the players that you've signed, and they're very much they're easy to manage. You know, they seem very easy to manage. They're very you know, they're introverts in the way that they play. They're not expressive. It's about control. It's about having every single detail, you know, completely accounted for, and there's no room for there's no room for a jack in the box, a wild card. Oh shit, no one saw that coming. A little bit of, you know, when the fans get off their seats at once, and you can hear the seats all moving. That there's nobody like that, and I do feel like that's by design. I personally ain't trying to see none of that, because listen, football is about the best, watching the best, especially in the attack. The defense, 100%, lock it up, block it up with 6'5" 4s, great defenders, stable defensive midfielders. I get it, but at some point you got to throw in a couple of Mavericks, even if it is. And I've said this before, because I feel like Rice is best in a pivot. I've said this for a while. I think the way that he's
making him an 8 though, man.
Yeah, the way he's able to carry the ball, yes, he's able to cross, he's able to shoot, but at the same time, he's not a line breaker to say the least. He's a Nemanja Matic kind of pivot next to a Zubamendi. But then who's the 10? If it's not Wanyeri, because you're looking after him, Odegaard, he's not the creator. He's more of a, you know, dictator.
Facilitator kind of guy.
Ryan Cherky.
Pass before the pass.
Bro, Ryan Cherky. And I'm not saying Ryan Cherky has to bench Odegaard, but can you imagine? Low block, last 20 minutes, you're bringing on Ryan Cherky. Both-footed. Santi Cazorla. Hips are swerving. Bro,
but you said it there, like he's not he's not a controllable guy. Two, he's too random in the system football. Like it's a pipe dream, us getting him.
But that is what
he's everything.
That's what Arsenal are about. And again, it's not to say, oh, he has to start and how is he going to work off the ball? I get all that. But just give yourself one maverick, give yourself one option. So then when you do need something out of the blue and it is getting stable, it is getting stale, in he comes to make something happen. Any angle, any pass, any dribble, any carry, he's got it in his locker. And it's just players like that I feel like a lot of managers in these days, systematic, you know, managers, they don't want those type of players. It's a shame because those are the type of players that can change everything for you if you use them right. But yeah.
And that's the thing, man. I feel it's being lost because I mean, the players will always you could caveat that and say the systems have always been there, like 4-3-3 has always been there at certain clubs, and you can caveat that and say the individuals still make the games, but it's never been more system based. Like Odegaard's primary job is how he ties into the system rather than what he does from a selfish individual kind of point. The same with Bukayo Saka. The system is geared for Saka, like moving inside and whatnot, even down to Martinelli holding the whip for whoever's on the left hand side, holding the whip, and like you mentioned, Declan Rice running. And I just think Arteta is that. I do think he's going to have to learn to manage mavericks and bad attitudes, quote unquote. You could say he managed it with Aubameyang, and then obviously Shaw broke the camel's back. But naturally, typically, good players are going to have a bit of that, and you have to give them a bit of leeway. What do you think of? Because I feel. Go on.
On your point, on your
point.
No,
keep going. I was just going to ask you something else. Go on.
Yeah, you see, there was a moment against Man United, right, where the ball went down the left. And Odegaard was in the right channel of midfield. And it was so natural to just be like, do you know what? I'm the most attack-minded midfielder. The ball's gone out wide to the left. The player's running onto it. There's no one near him. There's no support. I'm going to go over there and I'm going to help him and link up. And you see Bellingham do it for Madrid. You see Rodrigo, Vinny switch flanks and Mbappe drift in and they go together as a cluster. They do a little couple link up, switch it out, ball. You know, there's a bit of freedom. This brother was looking over his shoulder at the right wing when the ball was on the left. He's like, damn, am I standing in the right? He's like, am I standing in the right place? Am I close to my right winger? Brother, the left winger is the one that needs the help. Can you not go over there and then the other midfielders see you over there and move and say, right, what's going on with the freedom?
Facts. Do you know what I mean? Do you think Odegaard's hiding? Like, not only that, do you think Odegaard's hiding? And on one hand, I hear it. You're just doing what the manager's telling you to do, and you got to be disciplined and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, but do you think, maybe not even necessarily just with Arsenal, do you think players at times should deviate from the system or show a bit of responsibility and randomness, as much as it's a double-edged sword?
I would love to say yes, but we don't know what these managers are saying to them at halftime and in the dressing room and on the training ground. They might be saying, listen, guys, you need to do, they might be really militant. They might say, listen, you need to do exactly what I'm telling you to do. And if you don't do what I'm telling you to do, I'm dropping you. And that's it. And when you kick that, when you really get into a player's psyche day in, day out, every day at training, and you tell them this over and over again, it can become just automized for them, where they have forgotten their own freedom, their own expression, their own way of play. I'm sure